Hey everybody, welcome to the Dance Diaries. This is episode 3.
Holy cow!
Can you imagine? So I'm Carole.
I'm Kim.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you have watched some of our other episodes and you've pressed subscribe and like. We are so excited today. Our topic is going to be on choosing dance dresses and our evolution in our Pro-Am dance career, about what it is that we've done to pick the right type of costuming.
That's right. And
So-
it's not easy, right?
It isn't. I mean,
And it's very personal. It's very different for each person, right? Everyone is different with colors and type of dresses. And how do we do that? How do we choose that?
I don't know. You know, I remember the first time, Kim, when I decided I was going to do a competition, and I couldn't believe how excited I was because, well, first of all, to agree to do a competition is one thing, but to decide how you're going to be able to pick that, what you're going to do. I got brought into Manhattan and went like searching at someone's studio. They had me try on a whole bunch of dresses. They were beautiful and amazing. Like, to the point, you know, when you first do that, you're like, there's no way I'm wearing that.
Right, exactly.
Okay. They had me try on these very skinny, I can say skinny, you know, I mean, I'm not a big girl. I'm 5'2", you know, I'm an average size, you know, but I'm petite. And when I was trying these things on, I was like, where is the fabric? Okay.
I know. And look at us now, right? And for me, and it's so funny too, because my experience was completely different. When I decided I wanted to be a competitive dancer, my studio owner right away said, here's the dress, and she got it for me, sight unseen. And when I put it on, I was in the studio, and my first dress had very little fabric. Yeah, most of my.
But were you comfortable with that? Because I'm as cute as it was, and by the way, I took a picture of this no fabric dress. Okay, and then I took off the dress, and then of course I got something else. But were you comfortable wearing something that you know was? I'm not. How do I explain it? No fabric means that there's it's just very fitting and might have cutouts in it, a lot of skin showing.
Yes,
you know.
Well, that's my style. So yeah, for me, yes, I was very, very comfortable. My thing was, I was such a new dancer. I was a novice. You know, I was, you know, a baby dancer, right? And this dress,
right?
And me, I'm like, skin is good. Yeah, I. Matter of fact, I think we were talking. My newest rhythm dress actually has sleeves, arms. And for me, it's a very uncomfortable thing, but I decided to go that route for a couple of reasons, you know, just to be a little bit more, I guess, elegant on the dance floor. It still has cutouts because I'm a cutout girl, but, yeah, and also the tan. We'll talk about that. We'll probably have a whole segment on tanning and makeup and things like that.
Well, the tanning, so just so everybody knows, and it's really important, I think, when we're talking about the styles of dresses, because if you're going to wear cutouts, meaning that if you've got a dress that's showing, you know, let's say a cutout here on your side or showing a lot of leg, what a lot of you may not realize, or you are, because if you're a pro-am dancer, you would understand, is if you're on the dance floor, those lights are very severe. And so you could look really grayed out, you know, depending on your skin tone. For me, you know, obviously I'm very pale. And so I would have to wear, you know, certainly some sort of tanning lotion or get tanned, and it would look a lot better with the full, you know, package of the costuming.
Right.
But if you wore the sleeves, you got the current dress that you have, you got it because there was less chance of your tanning to rub off on your dance partner's outfit, I think you said.
The transfer, you know, and there's a lot of tanning products out there that say, oh, not transferable, but you're out there sweating, you know, you're dancing at a high level and sweat mixed with the tan, you know. So my dance partner, it just doesn't like the.
But does your dance partner wear a white shirt?
No, he wears black.
So how is that a problem?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, this is nothing against your dance partner. I was just curious, you know.
Because also, you know, some of the tanning products have a bit of sparkle.
Oh, there you go.
Sparkle might transfer, but, you know, it does, like, sometimes it'll show up on the black as well. I mean, I don't disagree with him. And it's so much better not to have any, you know, negativeness prior to getting on the dance floor at competition. So for me, rather than, you know, I said, let me just go this route, and I think it's gonna when the dress is complete, I think it's gonna be good. It's
So
gonna be
talk to me
perfect.
then about your first one versus this one. Okay, so obviously you've been dancing. We said
7 years.
7 years, 12 years. I mean, if you hear me in another video say 13, I mean that's so I can't even remember anymore.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so
I
I've
think,
been dancing, nearly 13 years. So for me, in the first dress, it had sleeves also, I believe, on both sides, but it had a cute little cutout at the shoulder,
Oh, yeah.
like it went down a
Peekaboo,
little
yeah.
bit, and then had some nice, some shaping here on the neck, which I thought was really good.
Yep.
It had a serpent in the front, like with stoning
cool.
on it. It was so pretty. In fact, one of my instructors said that was his favorite dress, and that was my first dress.
Wow.
And I traded it in after a year to get another dress. So I was able to repurpose it, sell it, and use the money from that dress to buy myself a new one. But I agree with him. It was one of my favorites because it had a nice flouncy skirt.
Yep.
It had a beautiful combo. Like, I love emerald green.
Yes.
It was a black dress with the cute stoning, but not overkill on the stoning.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it just had a great flounce to it. And it brings back great memories because it was the first time that I went out to do an actual show dance and a competition, and I just felt amazing.
Yeah,
in it.
exactly. So that's the same thing with me. So my very first competition, I actually borrowed a dress.
So you borrowed one.
I borrowed one from one of the other students in the studio who had been.
That's
dancing.
not a bad idea, I mean, we'll talk about that in a bit,
that.
but I'd say that's not a bad idea to start that way.
Yeah, and then right after that, it was my new dress, which is my favorite dress.
What color is it?
My first one that I bought was black and silver.
I have the video of you in that.
Yeah. So
no, I was looking last night.
You're kidding.
Okay, so get this. So I went through everything, and she has no idea that I found these photos because I used to watch Kim dance from a long time ago. It's this gorgeous dress. So tell us more.
So initially, it was the only thing was it was very, very open here. I mean, it was all cut out. It had one side, was a little bit longer, and the other side was all open.
Right.
And so my dance instructor, my partner who I dance with, kind of felt like, and I agreed, I didn't need this open. So
but could you have put something there?
Yeah, I mean, we could have put something there,
like a see-through tan fabric, and then stone a little bit in the center.
Well, the whole top was stoned already, so it was all stone, and it was just cut.
So okay, so
yeah,
listen. For all female Pro-Am dancers, we all know that we all carry different size and packages of the girls here. So, with all of us being different shapes, that's a big deal. Like I have a friend who she wants the tops of her dresses, and I kind of agree. I like that too, where it feels more like a workout top, like the kind where it just feels really snug and feels good. And then some other people like a little bit more cleavage. But if the cleavage with the girls are moving around too much, it's very distracting possibly for anybody watching that. And then it might take away from the dancing possibly.
So I agreed with him when he said it. He's like, this is a beautiful dress, but so I had Petrosian, close it up for me, even though it wasn't their dress initially. They closed it up for me and just up here, and it was much better. But that was my favorite dress. I felt, we talk about how we feel on the dance floor wearing a dress and all made up. That dress I felt amazing. And I wore it for a couple of years actually, because I was told that it's important for now I don't know if it's true or not, but for when you're a competitive dancer, if you're going to continue to compete, you want to wear the same dress a few competitions so that the judges, get to know who you are. So I did that with that dress, and then also my smooth dress, and that was my favorite smooth dress too.
And what color was the smooth?
That was the yellow. Do you remember the bright yellow?
So is that funny because now you've been dancing for about 8 years. That color over the last few years is like intensely popular. This like neon yellow color.
That's the color it was.
And even today in 2023, I'm still seeing some fabulous dancers out there wearing the more neon extremely vibrant colors on the dance floor, some of which have stones and some of which do not.
Yeah.
But they're, if you think about who's going to catch your eye, there are things that you can do to support, standing out in a crowd with the dress. Sometimes the color itself or the look and the design. Obviously, you want your dancing to speak for itself, obviously. But if you are in a sea of people that are wearing black against some people that are popping out with a yellow, your eyes kind of gravitate
to the color.
To the color.
So, and my new dress is black, so it's not stoned yet. So I'm considering, we'll talk about the different color stones that I might want to put on that dress rather than just crystal, because
in today's day, a lot of people are they're testing different things with dresses now. It's not all the AB stones, although that is the traditional type of stones that you're going to see. But now you see all types of pearl stones. You see, matted and jewel tone stones. Sometimes people are sewing on other little things, but especially if you're going to get it done well and get it from a reputable dressmaker, you want to make sure these things are staying on your dress and do not cause for any safety concerns on the dance floor. Feathers. There's all kinds of things that people have.
So let's talk about that. Have you ever had a costuming faux pas?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I don't know. Okay. So yes, I have. So
are you blushing?
I should be. So one thing that one of the more reputable dance dressmakers always said is that you want to make sure that your underpant from your dress is well fitted. You don't want half your butt cheeks hanging out from a dress or anything else. And so you want to make sure that is very well done, secured, and so on. And then I had a dress that I wore that had these fasteners underneath, and they were perhaps, maybe it's a dress that wasn't from one of these, dressmakers. And as I was doing the paso doble, I had a great routine. I got, twirled around, and I did this, this thing where I dropped to the ground, and I had to put my knee up and my leg, on the ground. All of a sudden I heard two of the three snaps unsnapped. Yeah. Now, thank God I was wearing fishnet stockings, black. Okay. I don't know. I had something on there that was like, thank goodness, because, however and whatever you wear during your competitions as your undergarments, whether it is, a good bra, if the bra is built in, if it's the undergarment, I'm telling you, you have to look at all those things and and you need to take that dress for a test ride, people, because if you're going to take your dress out for the first time on the dance floor, that is just not the place to discover that you're going to have some faulty potential, whether it's, hooks from the bra or from the
Listen to this one. This is really funny. So we were at national competition in Orlando.
Right.
And I had my I have a white smooth dress. New, and it has a crystal leg, right? A removable one of a kind. And
can you just describe that when you say a crystal leg? Like you're talking it's like a leotard leg or something, right? Is that what you mean? Crystal leg.
One leg. So without the crystal, the one side is open, and so for championship scholarship rounds, we can talk all about that too. It's a stocking that the removable stocking that you put on, but the dress is white, and we were talking about tan earlier, and so I go out to do my regular rounds of smooth, and I get off the floor, and my dance instructor is like, look at your dress,
full of tan,
and I had championship and scholarship yet to do, so I ran over to Petrosian. Margarita, you have to help me, whatever. And they put me in another dress, a black dress that really didn't fit me that well.
Did it throw you off?
It did. It threw me off.
It's too bad. Why didn't you just stay with the white dress? Was it just that bad?
Horrible. It was that bad.
Oh my! How did you get it cleaned?
She still has it.
Really?
To clean it for me. Yeah. Or Margarita took it. She said she'll clean it up for me, but I haven't competed in smooth since then. So it wasn't a rush or anything. So I don't know if it's clean yet. It was horrible.
But it's interesting because now I see a lot of people wearing white again. Like currently, this is it seems to be depending on sometimes the comps have these themes, where if you're going to go to a final, white seems to, and maybe that's more for the pros or I'm not sure about pro-ams, but I see people, they will change into something like that for their final dress, maybe not their beginning ones, right?
Right. I used to do that too. I was taught early on that if you're going to do championship scholarship, and you have a little bit of time, change into a different dress for championship scholarship. There's different schools of thought there because sometimes they say, if you change, the judges won't really recognize who you are for your championship.
Well, I think if you're down to the top 6 and you're in that final, there's way more opportunity for them to see you. Although for me, if I had a good dress on that was doing trick and making my presentation look the way I wanted, I would probably stay in the same dress. If I were going to a nationals or a worlds of some kind, maybe in an instance like that might not be a bad idea. If you've gotten through, quarters and semis and you've arrived at being in a final, that would be so great. But normally for me, I would probably stick to my same dress. I would feel good in it. And I just feel more and more warmed up, and I would make sure that I get out and do my thing. The other thing is I don't compete enough for people to remember me to go ahead and change into another dress. Like I would want to make sure they understand what I have been doing all day with my individual heats. And when I get to the scholarship or championship round that oh yes, now, because, throughout the day, the judging changes, you will have different panels of judges, and you would not want them to, well, I remembered this one in a green dress, but then she's coming out in a blue dress, unless you're competing like every month. And I know people do more than that, but on a regular basis, and you're seen at the multiple comps, maybe in a time like that, I can see where someone might switch out of dresses. But for me, that I never did that. I went with a look for my hair, my makeup, and for my costuming. And I made sure that I was ready to go with my package that I was comfortable with.
Yeah. And that's probably the smart thing to do. I think there's different schools of thought there. And I think it's a very personal thing, and there are some competitions where I brought another dress fully intending on changing for my championship rounds. And then, like you said, you feel really good that you in your regular heats, and you feel really good in that dress, and you don't want to change it.
So I think what I'm going to segue on is when you do bring multiple dresses, it's probably a good idea when you go to a comp to bring like a second option or a third anyway, because I tell you why. When you get there, the lighting in the room is different in every comp you go to. So sometimes the lighting and the dance floor are better for very neon colored dresses. And then the other ones, the blues or the other colors, show up so much better. The stoning in some rooms is so much better. And so if you get somewhere and you're like, I'm disappearing amongst the lights or the room, you're going to want to change. That happened to me at Manhattan Dance Sport. In the first time I ever went to Manhattan, this is a big comp, guys, and why I decided to do my first independent competition at Manhattan is beyond me, but I did. And I went there in a dress that I made, and it most certainly wasn't up to the quality or the construction and necessity for your look and feel that was necessary for that competition event. And I had a beautiful dress, gorgeous one in my room, when really what I should have done is immediately go change into what was a far more quality dress. I just was eager to try this dress that I made, and that was simply not the comp to go test it in. So remember earlier when I said test your dresses, get someone to give your feedback.
Do you remember how you placed in that competition?
I did not make any of the quarter, semifinals, anything. And the girls that I was with that day all made it to.
Do you think part of it? That's an interesting.
Absolutely. My dress. Remember we talked earlier about the girls falling out. I don't hardly have any girls, and they were falling out of the front of this dress. It was distracting, and it most certainly didn't appear like I presented myself well enough. I didn't get my hair and makeup done. I had this dress that looked, it really was not appropriate for the event.
Was that your very first competition?
My first independent competition.
Independent, yeah.
I was with a franchise studio at the time, but this was my first independent.
Mm.
Now, I learned great lessons learned from that one. I will never make that mistake again. I will make sure that I show up and that I am presentable for the event, that how that's meant to be.
That's right.
That was a great lessons learned. And while I was disappointed to not make it further along, because I do believe at the time I thought I was going to do fairly well.
You're a good dancer.
Yeah, but when you say you need to feel confident in your dress and feel good with it, I didn't feel good that day because I was intimidated by the people around me who they were looking at me. Some of them looked top to bottom, and I'm like, normally I don't care what people think of me, but that day I realized I was just not competition ready.
So, would you have changed in the middle of your rounds into the other dress?
Yes.
Why didn't you?
Had I brought the dress down to the dance floor, I was in my hotel room. Had I even, my instructor said, do you have another dress with you? Go put it on. He was just too busy with all of his students to even think about that. And because it was my first independent, I know now that if I showed up and said, this did not look good, that I would go up and get my other option. So you should always, if you can swing it, try to have a couple of options, or at the very minimum, test your dress out ahead of time so that there's no costuming malfunctions and all that.
Yeah. So how much do you think the look has to do with how we place?
I do think that it is important to portray the style of dance, that your dress should reflect the style. So if it's American rhythm, for example, I see a lot of costumes today where it looks very international Latin, going out to do an American rhythm dance. And
let's talk about that. What do you think the difference between, for everyone's edification?
Okay, so I'm not a pro, so this is totally from the amateur perspective. My understanding is that, it's either top or bottom. There's a lot of like rhythmical movements in American rhythm, and you're going to see a lot of hip action and, a lot of, movement. And so you want a flouncy type of, I believe, I'm just saying for me, my preference would be to see a good flouncy skirt would be good for my body type, help me, accentuate the movements that I'm doing. And that would make more sense if I were to wear a full-on international Latin dress where there's a lot of the leg work is very precise. The extensions of the arms are very different. It may not appear as effective to help you show and demonstrate how well you are performing the style of dance. So I do think there's something to be said about that. It's the same thing when you're dancing smoother, international ballroom. But I would say that in rhythm, my preference as, someone who watches it on YouTube, or if I go watch a competition or even just performing in it, I love watching people that have costuming that embodies the spirit of what that dancing is all about.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I feel exactly the same way. However, I do feel, as we just talked about, it is a personal preference, and you really have to feel really good in what you're wearing.
Absolutely.
So for me, I'm a small person, and maybe that's why I like cutouts. Fabric will swallow me up. Too much of it will just like kind of swallow me up. So I
swallow you up. You mean that you feel constricted, or you feel like it just doesn't show off or showcase your fitness? Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah. No, I don't really care so much about that. Although I guess we all do kind of care about our physiques, but that's not really why.
Well, I say that because some people have great legs, great calves, and they need to showcase that.
Well,
and wear a certain type of dress that will show their legs maybe a little cutout in the leg.
No, I'm that person.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I
that's
need to
more
show
what
the
I'm
leg.
saying. Whereas like for me, color is more important for
Yeah.
me. And then of course a well-fitted dress. But if I feel that if the color really pops my skin tone and that I dance even more confidently, I
Yes.
feel more voluminous on the floor because I am here.
Yeah.
Like I remember doing the New York Dance Festival
Mhm.
and I came in second in a closed silver American Rhythm out of 18 participants.
Wow.
I was shocked, but you know what? That day I had a rockin' dress.
Yeah.
The color was amazing. I felt really good on the dance floor. I didn't feel like I was, that anything felt uncomfortable. The entire package felt
Was that
right.
the blue one?
The blue one.
I was at that competition.
Right? And so
you were danced smooth and or standard.
no. This was American Rhythm that
Oh.
day at the New York Dance Festival. Mm-hmm.
You have a blue smooth dress.
I do
too.
have a
Yeah.
blue smooth dress and a blue. I wear a lot of blue.
Yeah.
This one was more like the blue you see today. A lot of the what do you call that? The royal blue.
Yes.
And it had just combo. The whole thing it was a fabulous competition, and I felt amazing.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
And
so.
that
But that
says a
goes
lot.
to
Yeah.
show
Mhm.
that I was embodying the style of dance. I was wearing something that I thought was completely appropriate. I had it checked out by my studio director and it was a thumbs up.
Yeah.
My instructor watched to see how that moved on the dance floor. Everything fit the way it was supposed to. And when you don't have any distractions, and this is the way that you go in and you're just focused and concentrating on what you're supposed to do, you feel so much better.
Yeah. So that reminds me of again, my first year we did Yuletide, right?
Oh, Utah. That's
yes.
a New Year's Eve
The
party?
New Year's Eve one. And I competed in international Latin.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was my very first time. And we were completely brand new in international Latin. But the dress I had on, do you remember the mesh dress, the stoned mesh dress?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I do. And I think I
Yes.
have pictures of you with that also.
Yes, that
Okay.
was a kick-ass dress. That was a fabulous dress, and I had red flowers in my hair.
Oh, beautiful.
And I had shoes with a red bottom.
Oh,
And
nice.
yes, so the comment I remember, because that particular one was being live streamed, and one of my friends from the studio was at home watching the live stream and recording it, and there was a commentator, and he was commenting on my dress and the shoes and how the whole, and she can carry that dress. But the thing is this, we had done international Latin all of about 2 minutes. I mean, literally, we just learned it. It was our first competition.
But you were
for
owning the dress.
But I owned the dress, took first place. Get this, guys, took first place. And we got to dance at the gala on New Year's Eve.
So that only happened to me once, but didn't you feel good getting invited back?
I was beside myself. Matter of fact, my instructor, we had never done samba, right? So we had never even practiced it. We never did it. And he's like, we're going to pull out of this part of the competition. And we go down to the people who were running it. And he said, we're going to, come out of this. And she said, no, don't pull out. You have time to practice. There's a practice room right there. And I looked at him and I said, let's do it. He initially wasn't having it. And I said, come on, we have time.
We're here.
An hour.
We are here.
Let's do it. Let's practice. We did. We took first place. I know. Crazy. And we got to dance at the gala.
Firstly, that experience of dancing at the gala, my first time and my only time, just to say this, my only time where I was asked to dance at the evening, to open up an evening show, is when I did my show dance. My Elton John show dance.
I remember.
And, the costume again,
Yes.
to go back to it, I had the full feathers going on. I had the sequins. and we danced really well. And when we were invited back to do that, I felt I danced that show even better with my dance partner at the evening event.
Yeah.
And it was such an honor to be asked to do that. And so I just think but this goes to how you feel, how you perform. And no one would ever ask you to go perform that somewhere if you weren't exuding an entire confidence and package with what you're wearing, how you're dancing, of course, and what you're presenting. So everyone, I just want to say this topic of costuming, dancing, having the whole package, it's so important. We would like you, please press subscribe and like if you're enjoying what we're talking about on this episode. And I want to thank everybody for listening in on today's episode 3 of the Dance Diaries.